So when I was watching the film Babylon, I had one of those like aha moments. So I've just finished watching the entire Small Axe anthology series, and after watching Babylon, I definitely see the influence of that film on kind of how Steve McQueen shot and directed his film. Everything from just Small Axe trying to get the same look as Babylon. Definitely the role of music within both the anthology series and Babylon, and also as I talked a lot about in my review of Small Axe, even how white British people, are being kind of portrayed in that particular film. Now, I do stand by my critiques of the Small Axe anthology series. Please check that all 5 of those reviews of each of those films on my channel. But I very much understand kind of what or kind of where Steve McQueen was kind of coming from with Small Axe and what he was trying to do with that film, based on its influence from Babylon. So again, it's overall a good series, but it's not perfect. So greetings everyone, my name is Dr. Jason Freeman, and I'd like to welcome you all to my channel. In this video, I'll review the 1980 film Babylon. I'm gonna tell you what I liked about the film, I'm gonna tell you what I didn't like about the film, and then I'm gonna say whether I think you should see the film or just skip it. Now, at any point, feel free to click the notification bell or subscribe to my channel to get more content. So, without further ado, let's begin. The film Babylon focuses on a group of young black males living in Brixton in London in the 1970s. The main character is a young man by the name of Blue. Now, Blue is navigating love, friendships, as well as issues related to police brutality. That was a major problem in Brixton at that time. Now, what I like about the film, well, first and foremost, was the music. So the soundtrack of this film is amazing. There's music throughout the film, and it really kind of sets the tone for what's going on in the film. Another thing I liked about the film were the characters. So while in a film like Alex Wheatle, I did not like the main character, I very much like the main character of Blue in Babylon. I'm rooting for him. I definitely see the goodness in him. The fact that he is trying so hard, even though he has so many obstacles, and so very much from the beginning, whether it's the trials in regards to the law or his love life, all those things, you feel for him and you support him. But in addition to Blue, there are other characters that you also kind of come to like and care about. One being Beefy. Now Beefy is a character that provides comedy at various points. In particular with a certain beef or a certain kind of issue that he's having. But the other thing that he brings is some drama and some passion and some heart. There are various points where he kind of expresses these very deep ideas and things that that you may be feeling watching the film, and he kind of expresses those. In particular, there's one scene where he deals with someone is saying these very racist things to him, and he says some very strong, real stuff to this person. And so that you see a lot of that in this film. But it's not just those 2 characters. All of the main group are people that you sympathize with, that you empathize with, and that you do enjoy being with throughout the remainder of this film. Another thing I liked about the film was the mix of comedy and drama. Now, comedy was in there in spurts, so I wouldn't call this a comedy by any means, but I liked the comedy that was present in the film. But throughout the film, there's a lot of drama, a lot of specific issues that are connected with what was going on in Brixton at that time, in particular with the National Front, which was a white supremacist organization in Great Britain. And so in the film, it starts off in a way that you don't really know what's happening, know what's going on, and then this kind of drama starts to pop up from time to time, and it very much ends very dramatically. And I really like the ending. The ending is probably going to be probably has been somewhat divisive, depending on who's watching it. But I personally like the ending because I felt it was very powerful as to where the story ultimately ends up from where it started. Now, what didn't I like about the film? Well, the main thing I didn't like was that the film was very much of a slow burn. Now, I'll admit that when I first was watching that first third of the film, at various points I was kind of tuning out or not really into it because it was so slow starting. And then once it got to the drama, it really very much kind of took off from that point on. But the film is very much of a slow burn. It's definitely not, I would say, an action movie by any means. So if you get bored by films that don't really have a lot of action, that definitely just has a lot of just basically just life happening, then this is not the film for you. But if you're interested in a really good story, if you're interested in learning about the time in which this is set to be taking place in regards to Great Britain, I think it's a really, really good film to watch. But yeah, it's very much of a slow burn. And again, there were various points, especially at the very beginning, before I knew where the story was going, that I was just plain bored. But again, once you get to the second, well, not really second half of the film, so it's hour and a half, roughly, hour 35 minutes. So in the first third, I would say it's super slow. And then for the last hour, there's enough action in there that makes it worthwhile. But it very much, even in that last hour, though, there are different lulls that is basically it's a slow burn. So that's my biggest critique of the film. And another thing I wouldn't necessarily call a critique, but it's something that I pointed out with Small Acts is when watching a film with Jamaican patois, when you don't come from that culture, don't really know the language essentially, you have to have subtitles, and that helped me out a lot. Again, it's not a critique, it's just one of those things I mentioned in the critique section of my reviews, only because it's one of those things where in order to enjoy the film, you have to have some subtitles if you're not from that culture. Now, if you're from the culture and you know, you've heard that for most of your life, then of course you don't really need subtitles. But me coming from North Carolina in America, not necessarily being around the Jamaican community to any significant degree, and not necessarily knowing kind of the different terms within patois, I had needed those in order to understand what was going on. So, should you see it or skip it? I definitely say see it, absolutely. So the thing with me, when I was watching the film the first third, I was leaning towards skip it only because it was just boring me. And then once stuff started happening in this last hour, then it became very much of a see it film. It's one of those things that if you're interested in reggae at all, if you love reggae, this is a film that you must watch. If you're interested in Black culture in England at that time and learning more, again, something that you must watch. And one of the things that really kind of sold me on the film is there are various points when they were kind of, say, dealing with police brutality or dealing with the National Front, which is a white supremacist organization, where they said some very powerful things, some very important things. I'm not going to say what those things were. I think you should watch the film. But some things that really kind of resonated with me that they said that showed that they were very much aware. I would say both the actors in the film as well as the characters, they're very much aware of kind of implications of their actions in this setting and kind of what obstacles they were facing being in this country that didn't necessarily accept them and very much wanted them to leave. So again, it was just one of those very kind of very powerful movies in that regard. So I definitely know why this is a classic film after watching it. But again, it was very much of a slow burn at first, and so it took me a while to kind of really get into it. Now, if you found this review helpful, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, please share this with anyone you think might either benefit from seeing this review or might want to see the film at some point in the future. Thank you all and have a wonderful rest of your day.